What's up, fam? Welcome back to another episode of Design Inspiration. It's your boy Remy as always, and in this episode / video, we are talking about our new drop, What Has Jesus Done? I cannot tell you how many times I've already had people asking me, or at least trying to guess the acronym for what it stands for. And it's actually kind of funny. I've already seen that this is a conversation starter shirt, and it's really cool. And I seem to be really getting really good feedback from you guys on social media that you guys like this. And that gets me stoked because I do believe in this message, and I'm not doing it for the views or whatever, but like I want people to be serious about when it comes to like their faith and sharing Jesus, and I think that this is right up the alley for it. So you've probably heard of the phrase, slogan, the acronym, what would Jesus do? And funny little story, this actually started back in the 90s by a youth pastor by the name of, I believe her name is Janine Tinkelberg. She came up with this phrase as a way to encourage her youth in like her ministry to like remember that phrase, because she would say it over and over again. And she read it from a book that was made back, I think, in the late 1880s. The phrase took off. It started spreading like wildfire, and people started monetizing products with it and selling things. She did the bracelets, I believe, to start, and then everyone all over the world started taking over with this thing. And it's cool. Like, it's awesome. Like, it's a great phrase to ask, like, what would Jesus do? I think that there's value in asking that question when you might not be certain of what you should be doing. But also be honest, there's not always situations that you would know what Jesus would do in that situation, because the Bible doesn't explain your exact life story and everything that you have to make decisions about. Jesus had to make a decision about. I think that I heard a powerful phrase earlier this week that said Jesus was so focused on fulfilling the will of his Father that he wasn't trying to live up to his potential. And so that's crazy to me. Like, Jesus could have focused on himself and growing his potential on earth because he was literally 100% God and 100% man, but he focused on God's mission that he had on earth. There's something to say about like just understanding that you can't always answer that question of what would Jesus do. But regardless of that, I think that there's something even more important we have to address, and that is, why should we listen to what would Jesus do? Like, why is Jesus the example that we are to follow? And so there's people all over the world that hold to so many different ideas of who Jesus is. Some say he's a prophet, some say he was a good teacher, some say he was just some say he was a moral activist, others people say he was just an ordinary man that happened to live. Those are for the skeptics, right? Regardless, like, Jesus did something that changed the world. Like, he literally split time in half. But we need to analyze and look at, why is Jesus the figure that should be the example? Why can't Gandhi be the example? Why can't Buddha be the example? Why can't someone that, you know, in our history that did really good for the world be an example as well? I mean, it doesn't matter who it is. We need to validate, like, why is this the example to live up to? The verse that we want to tie with this is Romans 10:9/10. It's pretty much, the answer to this question is the gospel. Like, it is the only reason that we even have a faith is because not only did Jesus live a perfect life and die on the cross for us, but he also raised from the dead 3 days later. That's what proved victory over death. That's what validated and proved his authority and lordship over all, and that he actually was God. Because if he died, he didn't rise from the dead, who's to say he was God? And so, like, that is so crucial for our faith. I mean, Paul talks about it, I believe, in 1 Corinthians 15, where he says that if Christ was not raised from the dead, then what we do is in vain. That's why I want to kind of like stick with this, is that asking the question, what has Jesus done, is really important before we can even ask the question, what would Jesus do? This verse, just going to read it for you real quick. It says, if you declare with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. And then following that, verse 10 says, for it is with your heart that you believe and are justified, and it is with your mouth that you profess your faith and are saved. So, I mean, the entire answer, like, for this question of what has Jesus done is the gospel message. It is that Christ became the only sacrifice that was able to satisfy the wrath of God for the price that our sins must be paid. And Jesus lived a perfect life. He did a ton of miracles. He led a perfect example of what it means to live on earth in relationship with God. And obviously we strive for that. But even more than that, he went to the cross, died for those sins, and rose from the grave 3 days later, proving that victory over all. Like, that's kind of the message behind what has Jesus done. And so if someone asks you, you know, hey, what's that acronym? Or why is that acronym, like, why is that not what would Jesus do? Or someone just wants to ask a question about it, I want to encourage you that your answer to kind of follow up with that is more to share the gospel message. Like, talk about that. Be like, well, This is a question we ask because it either validates or invalidates the question, what would Jesus do? And I think that that can be powerful because people can see the phrase, what would Jesus do, and think that's cool. But again, like, that's a good point. Like, why don't we just say, what would Gandhi do? And so like, that gives you an opportunity to not only just share that truth, but even more, share the gospel with people, because you're sharing the gospel in order to validate such a question and such a statement. So I love this phrase. I'm stoked on this thing. I hope you guys are too. We're probably going to be pushing this thing for a long time. It might just be a staple thing. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. But if you are watching this video, I hope that you already own one of these shirts, and that's why you're watching it. If you're watching it just because you happen to stumble across this video on YouTube, I want to say what's up. We're Ask Us Why, and we are a Christian apparel company that is focused on mobilizing, supporting, and discipling the next generation of believers and believers all over the world of all stages of life. I want to invite you in on this journey. I hope that you got this shirt or one of our pieces of apparel about this. Hope you got some stickers on it too. Go and rep this thing and share the gospel. And together, let's grow the kingdom. Peace out, guys.